Welcome everyone back to Eagles Power Hour, your Eastern Washington affiliate on the Big Sky Podcast Network. I'm your host Patrick Frakes, and we are joined again by the founder, Kylor Neal. Kyler, how are you doing down there in probably pretty toasty Texas?
Oh, it's not too bad. It's only probably 95, 98 degrees and, 80% humidity. So when I get a couple spare minutes, I jump in the pool and relax. But yeah, dude, I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. It's been hot and chaotic for me this summer with work and moving and all this other stuff. So it's been nice to have like 2 days to just chill.
Yeah.
And we decided with kind of our both of our semi off days, we wanted to talk some Eastern football, and we're gonna be doing a preview episode this year. This season, football is coming in what 2.5 weeks. We have a game, August 29th. Eastern hosts Monmouth, CAA school. But this is just gonna be like a season preview episode. We both of us are like not very prepared, so we're just gonna. It might be a little bit of a shit show episode, and those are kind of what a lot of these episodes end up turning into, anyways. Which is, I feel like when I listen to podcasts, I like the shit show episodes. So
That's the
hopefully you guys
bread and
enjoy.
butter of how this thing started. Do you think I was prepared at all for any of these? Hell no.
Absolutely. That's the best way to do it. Stream of conscious. All right. So let's start off first. I mean, let's just talk about the conference kind of as a whole and how things are looking in a broader sense. So the Big Sky preseason polls came out a few weeks ago, and let me see if I can share this thing. Eastern was picked sixth in the media poll as well. They were eighth in the Big Sky coaches poll. It's kind of I don't really know how to feel about it. How do you kind of feel about it, Kyler?
I mean, six is a little far fetched in terms of what I was expecting. Not that we can't be six. Let me definitely reiterate that. And then eighth is kind of what I think is a little harsh. So I get we haven't had a good 2 seasons, but I think the talent's there. I really thought we'd be met in the middle, so I'm not really that mad. I thought we'd be in seventh place in the media and coaches because I thought everyone probably had the top six teams. And in that regards, I meant Montana, Montana State, Idaho, UC Davis, Sac State, and Weber State. I thought that's what every single media who has followed the Big Sky would have had. Then, the next, it was going to be Eastern, NAU, or Portland State, maybe even Idaho State that can sneak up anywhere in that aspect. But I thought, Eastern would probably be given a little bit more benefit of the doubt just because we return a buttload. And, we did have some promise ups and downs last year. So, yeah, I mean, 6, 8, 7, it's kind of what was expected. And then hopefully we could just improve from there and not not have these years when, we're not in the top 3, top 2, top 1. I mean, that's what we want. That's what we're used to for such a long time. So it sucks when we're not even, in technically playoff contention. If you're thinking of maybe the top 4, top 5 teams are probably going to get a bid from the Big Sky. So it looks like we're just on the outside looking in, but this just means we get to play spoiler alert, baby.
For sure. And I think, like you said, anyone that really pays attention to the Big Sky would probably pit Eastern right about there. Just looking at kind of what teams lost, what teams gained, and looking at the last 2 or 3 years, yeah, Eastern hasn't looked like the greatest team of all time, but I think we both are feeling pretty good about Eastern's chances of moving up a few spots and hopefully being a little bit of a playoff spoiler for a few of those, especially the California schools. I definitely want to beat the California schools. I don't like them very much. I don't really have a good reason to. I just don't like them very much. So
Hey, fair enough. Me either. Screw them.
yeah, Stingers down.
I
Anyways,
actually don't like any school in the Big Sky outside of us. So
that's
I,
fair.
I hate every single one of them.
You guys know I have a soft spot for Idaho, but
I know, but
screw
that's
them freaking definitely most of the time.
yeah.
Screw
You
them
don't
most.
at least have an Idaho, flag on the back of your wall. So either if you, even if you have a soft spot, it doesn't belong on your wall.
I still had an Eastern flag when I was still a student at the University of
My
Idaho in my
man.
room. So that's how it has always been. I've always been Eastern from the core. So like you mentioned, Eastern returned a crap load. So Eastern returned basically the whole offensive line. They added one or two depth pieces in kind of the they'll be mostly depth roles, but it just kind of depends on how things shake out. I think they really do have like probably 7 to 8 very serviceable guys out there for the on the offensive line. When we had Dan Thompson on previously, he mentioned a few interesting things that we've seen so far in fall camp. So Dylan Connor, he'll be a redshirt sophomore this year, has been taking a lot of first team reps, taking them in the spot of a preseason all conference first team offensive lineman Wyatt Hansen in his
Hmm.
left tackle spot, and Michigan transfer. Oh man, his name is totally escaping me right now. I cannot remember his name, but number what? Shoot, what's his name? What's his name? Hold up. I got the roster right here. I got to find it. No Stewart
Okay,
from
I was like, it
Michigan.
wasn't Perez, right? But no, Noah
Nope,
Stewart was
nope.
from Michigan.
So he's been taking reps at right tackle with the first team. But then you have the same three guys on the interior, and I'm assuming that that's going to be kind of a rotation like we've seen in previous years where they like to rotate the tackles around, give guys rest, put different guys in at different times. You think of like you still have Matt Huabatage. He's a guy that started many games for Eastern Washington. Giant, 6'7", 330-pound dude. You still have like I said, Wyatt Hanson's still in there. He hasn't been taking a ton of reps with the starters, I guess, from what I've heard from people. And you added a few offensive line guys that through the portal. We had a JUCO edition in, I believe his name is David Shin. He came from Murrieta, California. He's a guy that he could probably plug and play at any spot on the offensive line. He played center I believe he played center at Utah Tech for like a year or two, transferred down to the JUCO, came back up, and he played left tackle at the JUCO, and now he's back up, and he's probably going to be interior offensive line at Eastern. So the offensive line, I think, is a position group that we're really hoping is a strength for this offense. Last year, they had their moments where I don't know, they felt like they weren't quite aggressive enough, but they have the size to be really,
Yeah.
really good. And I think that's a position group that really needs to it's a lot of the same guys. We need them to take just half a step to really turn this offense that almost everyone returned. This offense could go just take a giant step forward with a little bit of improved offensive line play. Do you have anything else to hit on with the offensive line, Kyler?
So, I mean, what I'm really looking forward to seeing is, did they get faster?
Mhm.
That's because one of those things is, I remember when I was pulling the offensive line last year. I mean, Eastern's O line was one of the biggest in all the FCS in terms of sheer height. But when they were performing, and we've always had a strong offensive line, that's been something that Eastern hasn't really struggled with. But when they were performing against like a good D line, it didn't seem like we had the speed. We had the size, we had the strength to kind of keep guys off, but they were able to get to the quarterback from the outside quite a bit. It didn't look like we were able to, run to the sidelines that well, just because I think we lost a little bit of speed. We couldn't block down the field as well. Keeping the quarterback protected, I mean, I think they're very suitable there. So I want to see how did we improve on maybe the athleticism of the O line, or are they just still giant bodies who are going to do a lot of damage on the interior? But I want to see a little more speed because that's one thing when you watch like South Dakota State live, North Dakota State live. We were just as big as those lines, but they were more athletic. They were a little bit faster. They had a little more agility. They were a little quicker. So I kind of want to see what this off season conditioning was, and is it just hey we're putting on muscle, we're putting on size, or can we do that extra little bit that's going to make this go from a good Big Skyline to an elite Big Skyline?
For sure. And one of those guys that I think has that athleticism that we're really, really wanting out of the offensive line is Dylan Connor.
Yeah,
He's a young dude, and he's 6'5", 290 is what he's listed at. But that dude is athletic, and that dude can get up the field. I think you get more hands on linebackers with your offensive line. I think it really makes this shit show of a backfield is what I like to say because it's
right.
such a weird. There's times I bet this year that we're gonna have three quarterbacks in the backfield,
Yeah,
and when you have guys that can go block on the second level, it's going to make that so much more effective. So,
I mean, you
uh,
see Montana States who they're always touted as like this incredible line. They got all these FCS All Americans. These guys are small. I mean, they're not a big offensive line. yet they can hold their own against some of like these nightmare monster D lines. And that's where Eastern's been kind of slacking. But I think like when I was doing the analytics last year, Montana State's average O line was like 290, where ours was like 305, 306. And we had another like 2 to 3 inches on each one of those guys. But the Montana State's O line is performing at an extremely high level. I would say even better than ours. So yeah, I'm excited to see if there has been that much improvement. So you're saying look out for Connor. You think Connor's going to be that guy?
He's a guy that when I was watching tape anyways, I was very very impressed with him as a redshirt freshman.
Nice.
He played down the stretch. I think he played in like the Weber State game and at a
Yeah.
few of the games after that. He started at right tackle, I believe, and I thought he has the build and the athleticism to be like a stud.
Nice.
But we'll see. I don't think he has a spot sealed up at all. I mean, especially when you're taking the place of a guy like White Hansen, who's been here
Yeah,
for it seems like a decade at this point. So it's starting for like a decade at this point, is what it really feels like. So
for
I,
sure.
I think he's a guy that if he takes that step that he probably can this offseason, or if he did take that step, I guess I should say, he's going to be a guy to really keep an eye on for just being the cornerstone for the future because next year we don't return almost anyone. So
Yeah.
so it'll be interesting to see how the offensive line looks next year. But
Yeah.
talking about the crapshoot of the backfield, the quarterback is always a very important position at Eastern Washington. I hit on that with Dan Thompson as well. We'll hit on the quarterbacks first. So we returned 3 guys that all played significant downs at quarterback last year. QB1 is undoubtedly Kiko Visperis. He was I can't remember what the exact stat was, but he actually was one of the statistically one of the better quarterbacks in the league last year. And I
He
mean,
had the
not a
most
lot of
yards, right?
people. So I think he might have, and
Yeah.
not a lot of people realize that just because Eastern wasn't that good. And so he was a redshirt sophomore last year. Coming back, he's a redshirt junior, has a full year of playing experience now. Another even more experienced offensive line, and I am so excited to see what Kiko does this year because I think his ceiling is so much higher than people may realize. That dude he has some special athleticism out of the
Mhm.
backfield. He's not necessarily an Eric Berrier, especially with like he doesn't quite I don't think he quite has the arm talent of an Eric Berrier, but he has so much speed and he's so dynamic. He's a guy that can beat you with his legs. He can guy that beat you with his arm as well. I'm really excited to see how he develops, especially with his arm, because I think last year the accuracy was the main thing that kind of messed with him, as well as I mean he had time a lot of the times, but it felt like the pocket presence was kind of something he struggled with a little bit last year. Kiko is a guy that I really want to see how he develops. Then you also hit on the other 2 guys. You got Michael Wortham, one of the most dynamic guys you'll see in the whole conference, is probably our third string quarterback. He
Yeah.
was a preseason All American kick returner, like a second team All American kick returner, as your third string quarterback. Such a wacky, funny thing. Dan said that Eastern had 2 backup quarterbacks in the punt return line at the end of practice the other day. Like what are we doing? I kind of love it. I kind of love it though. It's pretty funny. And then you have the other quarterback. Wow, I'm a horrible fan. I totally spaced on his name. Jared Taylor. Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Taylor is the other quarterback. He's
QB2.
probably the second team like full-time starter or not starter, full-time quarterback rather than kind of a gadget player like Michael Wortham is. Jared Taylor, he's seems like he likes to run more than he likes to throw, but he
Yeah.
can throw. He played in the Idaho game last year, and for a half, he looked unstoppable.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, he made a number of nice runs down the stretch. He had a touchdown run in the Weber State game, I believe, and he definitely has some upside and some talent there. With so many different moving pieces in the backfield, this year is gonna be wild schematically. What are you kind of looking forward to seeing in the quarterback room, or is it even a room at this point? I feel like it's got to be like a gymnasium or
Yeah. It's
something,
a
but
mesh hall. Mess
something
hall. But
ridiculous.
I mean, the quarterback. I'm glad you said it. I mean, it's always the most important part for Eastern Washington, right? That's our identity. and it has been for a long time. I know we've tried to run the ball more. We've tried to be a little more, dynamic with the play calling. But when you want to see Eastern Washington be the most successful they could be, it all starts with the quarterback. Where that's not the same with maybe some of the other teams where it starts with the offensive line. Our quarterbacks historically have done some special things that most teams don't get the opportunity to see. And I think we have an extremely talented quarterback room. Um, Kiko, yeah, you're right. Especially on like long distance, his arm, he has arm talent in terms of he can chuck it down the field, but the accuracy is slacking a little bit. But also Eric Berry's was slacking a little bit too, right? He made some
Mhm.
big plays to where you forget all of the missed throws, overthrows. But again, Kiko is so young. He's dynamic. He was a track kid as well in high school. That's always when I was really excited when we got an offer. He was what, a district 100-meter champion or something like that, or
Yeah, I don't know.
something like that, and it was for a school that I
Yeah.
believe, I could be stepping over my boundaries. Just trying to
Yeah,
remember from
he went
a
to
long time
Bethel.
ago. Yeah, Bethel. So yeah, SPSL, because that's where I went to school at Rogers. But so he's a track kid, but you don't see him utilize his legs. Now he's not as elusive as an Eric Barrier, and maybe that just is the vision. Eric Barrier's vision on the field was something that I haven't seen in a while, to where he just had a second sense if someone was coming up behind him, someone's in front of him, he knew what to do. Where Kiko is, he's still young, he's still learning the game. It's a completely different speed. And then of course you have Mike Wortham, which I think we should just use him in every play, no matter what. I mean, I think he's the most electric player on our roster. And you can put him in the backfield, you can put him as a wide receiver in the slot. It does not matter quarterback. We can run some crazy options with him, but he's just so dynamic. He's small, but he's so dynamic. And then I do like Taylor, but Taylor reminds me more of a Tommy Malott. He is an option style quarterback. That's where we're going to get the most bang for our buck with him. He can throw it, which is good, but I really want to see them not rotate as much, even though I'm talking about the whole QB room as a whole, right? Because I do think I'm a true believer in this. When you have multiple QBs that are changing in the offense, you can really stall an offense, right? You I don't know. It's just a different thing. The momentum shift changes. Obviously, when we were bringing in a Michael Wortham or a Jared Taylor, you know what it's going to be. We're
Yep.
going to be running probably on the outside. So at least I don't care if maybe we put all three in the backfield, like you said. Maybe we're going to have some crazy plays where there's three quarterbacks running, and maybe that could diversify the playbook and make the defense second guess a little bit. But I do like Kikoa. I think he's extremely talented. I think he's young. I think every single game he's going to read the field a little bit better, get more comfortable, especially in the pocket, and hopefully, he can deliver on those throws past 15 yards, because that's where we really struggled. At least we got Efton Chisholm who was catching everything, but I mean, Efton Chisholm, what his average catches probably 9 yards, 8 yards, 7 yards, something around there. I would really like to stretch the field because that's always what we've done, and we've been so successful. Where it seems like we're really playing the middle of the field quite a bit with our throws, with our run game. Everything seems to be right in that middle of the field where I want our quarterbacks to stretch it. Now, I don't know if that's because of the time. I don't know if that's because of nerves. I don't know if it's because they're young. But I think if we can stretch that field a little bit more, have Kikoa make those reads, hopefully get a little more time in the pocket, I think this kid can be something extremely special, which right now I'm actually thinking people are undervaluing him. I think people think Kikoa is not that good, which is not the case. If you watch him play, there are some plays where you go, that's an Eastern quarterback. Then of course there's some plays where you go, that's a young Eastern quarterback. Right? That's what
Hmm.
was going on all last year. That's a young Eastern quarterback where maybe you lose a little bit of confidence. But again, he's got a couple more years with us. If he can really take that next stride, I mean, his ceiling is so damn high. I
Totally
think he
agree.
could be, one of the greats in the league the next few years, as long as we capitalize and put him in a successful position, and maybe change the play calling a little bit.
Yeah, the thing with Kikoa is he had some flashes that were just like, wow. There was one play that I posted the other day actually from the EPH accounts. He just got smashed as he delivered a ball down in Pocatello last year, and just an absolute dime to Miles Williams, like a 20-yard post. There's those flashes where he just makes a ridiculous play those flashes where he just jukes someone out of their shoes. And then there's the dumb plays. You think of the pick at the end of the Fresno State game. Just
Yeah.
little stupid things where he's trying to force things and or missing a wide open guy or just little mental mistakes and little things
Just got to be a little more patient.
that I think it's coming with the age, and I think it's coming with the maturity and stuff, and more reps with a guy like Efton Chisholm, a guy like Nolan Olm. You're gonna eventually, after so many reps, you're gonna get the hang of things, and I think he really will this year. I'm super excited to see how he's developed overall.
Do you think they're going to be rotating quite a bit?
I don't know. I'm sure that all three of them will see the field. I'm almost sure that it
Yeah.
seems like that's what everyone's leaning towards. But I kind of want to see Kikoa get the reins. Like I really, I think Kikoa is the guy. I think he should be the guy, and I think Michael Wortham's a guy that should be used more as kind of a gadget guy. Honestly, I think he's almost as effective as he is as a quarterback as he is as like a running back or like a slot guy.
Yeah.
Just because they got to keep an eye on him at all times. One of the more effective plays that Eastern ran with him last year was it was just little kind of like a flat screen. Michael Wortham would line up as a slot receiver and he'd run just like a little drag route over the other side. All the receivers cleared out, and it worked several times last year for like 20, 30 yards just because typically your slot receiver running a drag route isn't threat number one. But when you have Michael Wortham there, he's so dynamic that he can just take that thing to the house, and he almost did a couple times last year.
I want to see some like RPO jet sweeps with Michael.
That would also, yes, that's another thing that I think it could be very effective. Montana State was really good with that a year when they had Sean Chambers and Tommy Mellott early in 2022. They really did a good job with that, and then Tommy got hurt, and it kind of became the Chambers show. But
Yeah.
it, I don't know. I just think the creativity needs to be there with this quarterback room, and if we're not going to be very creative, I think it's just got to be Kikoa's team, because I don't know if this is necessarily true. I don't have any like inside knowledge on this or anything, but it seems like the players are with Kikoa. Like Kikoa's their guy. Like it's not like they don't like Jared Taylor. I feel like a lot of teams, maybe it's just a psychology thing. Like when you have your guy, he's your guy, and you believe in him, and it really catalyzes that offense to play for that guy. I think Kikoa is that guy for this team, and he's a guy that with a little bit of development, he could be a very, very special player. I'm excited to see how he plays this year for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think the running back room will hit on just a second. I don't know if it's super interesting. It's going to be a lot of tuna. That's
A
going to
lot
be
of
a
tuna.
little bit of Malik Dotson. I'm sure maybe another young guy will get in the mix there, but I don't think we're going to hit on it too much. I'm sure tuna has developed. Shout out to new running back coach Demaric Pierce, former Eastern running back. We loved
Yeah.
that guy when he played here. But it's nothing too exciting. So we'll move to the receivers, because the receivers, I mean, that when you talk about Eastern Washington, it's quarterbacks, receivers is what we get excited about here at least. Um, Obviously, Efton Chisholm, he's the guy. He's the preseason All America. He's the preseason first team All Conference, preseason Walter Payton Award watch list guy.
Yeah.
He's the dude. Multiple like Shrine Bowl, I think, is on his preseason watch list. So he's going to be the guy. He's going to be getting a lot of attention from defenses this year. But that dude, he's so talented. Not to mention, he's such a good dude. Like, such an awesome dude.
Yeah.
Uh, so he's wide receiver number one, and he's got to have a good year this year if we're gonna be a successful team. If we're gonna be that top three Big Sky offense that we want to be, I think Chisholm needs to be like the guy. I think he's by far the most talented guy in the room, and I think he needs to be that wide receiver one and that really reliable target for Kikoa, because I think back to 2021 and every third down, who was Barrier looking for? It was freaking Efton Chisholm, little redshirt freshman Efton Chisholm, or freshman or Efton Chisholm. And I think he needs to have that same role as we go here, because he's such a reliable target, and he tends to just find ways to get open on third down. Third downs, just were my nightmare last year because
Yeah.
we'd get into so many like third and like five, and it just felt like we could not figure out what the heck we needed to do. It was that kind of weird, awkward, like you don't know if you really want to run the ball, you don't know if you want to run a little slant, but it's a little bit too far for that slant. It's a little like you don't want to really gamble on a really long ball, and so having a reliable guy like Chisholm just taking that another step. I think he wants the numbers this year that he didn't quite get the numbers that I think he felt he was capable of last year. And so he didn't get that full offseason before last year. He has a full, healthy offseason this year. I'm really excited to see how he develops. Do you want to hit on Chisholm at all?
I mean, he's just so fantastic. I got to hang out with him a little bit down in Frisco as well. Um, I mean, the attitude, the work ethic, and this was in the era of the transfer portal, right? Where I mean, you have a guy like Efton Chisholm. He could have went anywhere. I mean, he really could have. So I was asking him, "Hey, are you staying here? I mean, I know you haven't entered." He's like, "Yeah, I'm an Eagle, right? He's definitely an Eagle through and through, and he's just one of those guys who will outwork everyone on the field." I mean, same with Nolan Olm. They'll outwork anyone. But the best thing about Efton is it doesn't matter where you get him the ball. He's getting another 3-5 yards minimum after the catch. He's a dog once he catches. So that's what I'm excited to see. It's he's gonna fight for those yards. The fact that everyone's putting him as wide receiver one, not in the Big Sky, not in Eastern, but in the FCS, like he is all American. From every single stats, perform, blue bloods. Literally, he's an all American. He's the number one wide receiver in the league. I mean, that's what people are posting him. He's getting, looks from draft board, draft love. So yeah, I hope he really performs because what's wild is we all kind of think his numbers are underperforming compared to where we believe he is because we watch his play. I mean, the dude's hurdling over everyone. He's not that big. Uh, you know, when you watch him
Mhm.
play, he plays like a monster wide receiver, but his numbers shouldn't give him the number one wide receiver in the league, but everyone watches his play, and that's why he has the accolades he does. But even that, when his numbers are underperforming, he's going to finish like number two all time in Eastern Washington history with pretty much every statistic category. The dude is phenomenal. So I agree. I mean, he needs to be our first option. He needs to be that guy that we can rely on third and longs, get that first down. End zones, hey, maybe we got a couple different guys, but that third and long, third and short, we need a guy who can get us a first down, and I would trust throwing that damn ball to Efton Chisholm.
100%. And dude, I think he's number two in most statistical
Yeah, he's
categories.
already number two in catches.
He still has
Um,
another year. It's just wild. Like that. It's not on a Cooper Cup pace,
right.
but like no one's.
And that's
I'm just gonna
unfortunate.
say.
Everyone judges people now off of Cooper Cup.
Well, I
That's
mean, a little white slot receiver, but I don't know. He just he's a special player, and you could tell from the minute you watch his high school film before he even came here, you're like, dude, this guy is different. Like, you
yeah,
got to be really excited about that. Uh, Now to kind of the wide receiver 2 and 3, you got Miles Williams. He'll be a redshirt sophomore this year. He's a guy with giant upside. I think he's very talented. His high school film reminded me a lot of Efton Chisholm. Now, like thinking back to watching his tape when he first was recruited and committed, as well as what he's fifth year senior Nolan Ulm, two of the hardest working dudes on the team alongside Efton
yeah,
Chisholm. Nolan Ulm, he's your bigger body receiver. He's going to be reliable hands most of the time, and a really hard worker. He's probably the vocal leader of the team.
yeah.
He very active on social media and stuff, and uh,
Very
he
physical wide
does
receiver.
absolutely. That dude is jacked, absolutely jacked. But I think the name that I'm super super excited for is Miles Williams. Last year, he was kind of a lot of the coaches from when I talked to Coach McDaniels last spring, he was very, very high on Miles Williams. And he was like, dude, last year we were really expecting him to have a huge year, like just a breakout season. And he was just dealing with injuries, like a little nicks and knacks all season. And he's like, if that dude gets a full, healthy off season and stays healthy, he is special. And he is a very special talent. And he's
Nice.
like, he's expecting a pretty big year from Miles Williams. And I think I like how things are lining up with Efton Chisholm's getting so much attention, I
Right.
think a lot of Big Sky defenses are going to be, okay, we're bracketing Efton Chisholm. We're going to make these other guys beat us.
Yeah.
And I think Miles Williams is a guy with the talent that he's going to take over a few games this year. I think he'll have a few really big games where kind of comes out of nowhere and goes for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns type of
Yeah.
games.
Now,
I Go
I
ahead.
want to ask you a question
Hmm.
because there's two wide receivers that I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Oh yeah.
But of course, they're young. I don't know if they're going to see the field. So I wanted to pick your brain and see if you've heard anything. Because there's two guys that once we sign them, I want to see. One of them, of course, is the smallest, little, fastest dude that's going to be on the field, JT Ware. I mean, he always reminded me when I watched like his high school film of a Deshaun Jackson. Because right now it
Hmm.
doesn't seem like we have like that streak type of wide receiver that we've had in the past. Even our big body guys like a Limu Jones. I mean, you put him on a streak, he can get it. He was fast. We've always had that one wide receiver who could just run straight down the field, and it seems like that was lacking the last year. We got the big physical wide receiver Nolan Holm. We got the nice slot and Efton Chisholm who can do everything. Miles Williams, I think he's a very versatile wide receiver, but I think we're missing a little bit of the speed that we have been accustomed to. So I wanted to ask about JT Ware, see if you knew anything. And then the wide receiver I'm the most excited for once we signed him was Jackson Branch.
Yeah, Jackson Branch. I'll hit on Jackson Branch first because
Cool.
I know more about Jackson Branch in general. Branch is big play threat. I think he fits that Tallulah Limu Jones,
He's big
Andrew
too, isn't he?
Boston
Like six
ish,
four ish.
6'3", 6'4",
Okay.
185 pounds. Big, long guy. I wouldn't pit him as like a super physical receiver, but he has really good ball skills, and he who his film him reminded me of a lot was Brandon Kaufman.
Okay. Hey,
That
there's a
that was
Brandon Kaufman card up there.
awesome. That Brandon Kaufman highlights are something that I don't know how many people watch in their free time, but that's something I do because
Overshadowed, unfortunately.
that's me. But of course he's overshadowed. But
Yeah.
I think Jackson Branch reminds me a lot build wise of a Brandon Kaufman, that long, tall, but kind of can take the top off the defense as well. Uh,
Do you know
he
why he chose us? I don't know if you have any insight. Do you know why he chose us over like Arizona? Because I mean, this guy had, I think he's like our top rated wide recruit in history in terms of schools that went after him and offered him
yeah,
scholarships.
he had a lot of Pac-12 two. Well, I guess they'd be Big 12 now. Who knows
Yeah,
what conference those schools are in now? But he had a lot of bigger offers like that, and I, I have to assume it's just a culture thing. Like
yeah,
it I that's got to be the thing that draws those kids here. Oh, rather than playing for an FBS coach, it also could be like hey, you're gonna play here, like
yeah.
type of thing. Which I think Jackson Branch of the young guys this year, of all the incoming freshmen, I think he's the guy with like the highest chance of playing pretty soon.
Okay,
But he just absolutely super mega high ceiling. If we don't see him this year, I would be shocked if he's not playing next year.
okay.
Especially with how much besides after that first three of Nolan Olm, Efton Chisholm, Miles Williams. After that, the cupboard's pretty dry in terms of like actual snaps
Yeah.
on a Division I football field. Not in talent. Talent
No,
is there,
the talent in the wide receiver room is insane.
but a
It's
lot of young, unexperienced players.
it's going to scare the Big Sky for a few years because they don't know what's coming. I mean, when you're
I
seeing
Yeah,
the recruiting, even when the recruiting was maybe a little lackluster in the grand scheme of things from what we're used to, the wide receiver rooms were among the best that I've ever seen come from Eastern. It's been the last few years. So just think what's going to happen in the pipeline. These Big Sky schools, they're going to get nervous.
absolutely. Because these recruiting classes are crazy and they're huge.
Yeah,
And not to mention the 2025 receiver class is loaded already, and
yeah.
we're only
I'm
in
so
August.
excited.
So I mean, uh, this is just film wise, anyways. They have the stars too, but film wise, they got me really excited. But anyways,
Yeah,
we'll hit on JT Weir. He hasn't been as big of a name from what I've seen
yeah,
in general, but he did make a few plays in the spring. I think he's still pretty young and raw, but I think he's definitely a guy that has some talent, but he still has some developing to do. There's a few names that I'll mention for you though. Marcellus Honeycutt is a
Yeah.
redshirt freshman. He is a speedster. I think
Okay.
I think he's a guy that has the potential to fill that kind of speedster role this year, maybe a little bit. He's a redshirt freshman, but that dude is fast and he made a lot of plays. He's wearing the old Efton Chisholm 89 this year,
Nice.
and he's a speedy guy. He made some plays in spring, and I was pretty impressed with what I saw from him. There's also WSU transfer Cole Pruitt. I don't
Right.
really know if he saw the field much. He's a little speedy slot receiver. But the one that I am blown away with the talent when I watch the film is JUCO transfer Jalen Garrison. He has some wild ability to just move and agility and dodge guys. He was a super fast track star in junior college. He
Okay.
was he ran track at, I believe it was Fresno City College. But that dude, like, talent is some of the best, like, highest talent I have seen from an Eastern film, anyways. But he's very raw because I think he's only played football for like 3 years or
Oh
four
wow.
years or something like that. He has a senior year at senior of high school. He was born in Australia. I think he moved here when he was young. Didn't play football until his senior year of high school, I believe was what Coach McDaniels told me. And then he played at Fresno City for 2 years. And just the talent is wild. That dude is so fast. But he's raw, so I don't know if he's going to be contributing right away. But I think he's a guy with some very very high upside to be that deep threat that you're looking for.
Nice.
Then I think the other guy that we will probably see on the field this year will be another JUCO transfer, Noah Cronquist. He's kind of the opposite of what a Garrison is. He also is a 2-year eligibility guy, but he's the kind of a short slot, shifty guy. The dude put up like 1,000 something yards last year. He's very productive. Return punts, return wow, a ton of punt return yards last year at the JUCO. So he's a very experienced, shifty slot receiver that I bet we'll see on the field a decent amount just because he's experienced. I think he's like 25 years old and he's a junior because he's a LDS guy, went on his mission, came back. He is a Division I bounce back. He went to Southern Utah for a year. I think it was just a year. Went on his mission, came back, did a 1 year at Moore Park College, and that now he's at Eastern. But
Do
he's
you?
kind of similar to Nolan, and like he's a receiver that's just like weirdly really jacked,
Yeah.
even though he's like a kind of a shorter guy. Go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say, do you like? Because of course, we've seen this the last few years, where we've started leaning more heavily on the JUCO than I've ever seen us do before. And obviously, you've seen the JUCO players that played last year: Michael Wortham, Jared Taylor, right? Just the few that were dynamic whenever they had the ball in their hand. I mean, do you like us recruiting out of this JUCO route? We're not going to have these players for a long time, but they seem wildly athletic. Where maybe they just didn't get their opportunity out of high school, or maybe they've just excelled in they're a step above what your typical high school athlete is going to be, so that they can make a more immediate impact right on the field.
I think it's kind of a balance. So like I think they like recruiting JUCO because you get someone that has the maturity and kind of the really the maturity level to start right away and probably the experience to play right away. But you also don't get I think it's an FBS ego a little bit. You get
I
a
was going to
guy
say a
from the
chip on their
FBS
shoulder,
that
right?
comes down and is like, "Why the heck am I here, man? I am so much better than these guys." And in the back of their head, maybe they're not. It's not going to be you're not going to be a total a hole to all your teammates or anything like that. But in the back of your head, you're like, "I shouldn't be here," type of thing. And I think those JUCO guys also they prove it at the junior college. And so like
Yeah.
a guy like Cronquist, he he had, I think he had like 1,100 yards last year receiving in whatever 7-8 games.
Yeah, that's insane.
This JUCO, and super productive. And I think it's just that proving it is something that the coaches like, and it's like, okay, we know that guy. If we need to depend on him, we can, type of thing. I think that's
Okay.
kind of where it's coming from. Dan talked about this on that last episode of the fall camp update also, because I think it's more of a preference thing. Guys, the coaches they really like the EKGs, and I think it's a little easier to find an EKG type guy coming out of JUCO, a guy that had to grind to get there,
Little chip on his
rather
shoulder.
than maybe an FBS bounce back. But I mean, they take the FBS bounce backs as well. I
For
think
sure.
that they like to use it as more of a addressing transfer portal exits, addressing hey, we have a weakness here, we need to get throw someone in there. So like they're thinking 2 years. In 2 years, we're gonna have no receivers with any returning playing time. Let's go get some older guys to be the older heads in the room next year, type of thing. I
Fair
think
enough.
that's where they're looking there.
Okay. Fair enough. I love it.
Okay. Tight end. I mean, nothing insanely interesting. It's kind of the same crew. I mean, you had Blake Goble moved on, and taking over for him, it'll be number
Austin York.
85. So Austin York, he he is, but he plays more the F role.
Right.
So like he won't be exactly replacing him position wise. It won't be quite the same. I'm trying to find my
What?
roster is giving me
Jet?
issues. Yes, Jet Carpenter. That's his name. Jet Carpenter is going to be playing more of the Y reps from what I saw in the spring. He's a really good blocker. I don't know if he's the biggest receiving threat of all time, but he's a solid blocker. You also have Landon Cooper, another junior college guy coming out of Butte College. He'll be able to play both the Y, which is your kind of your taller, your more receiving threat, but your more prototypical tight end. And then you have your F, which is more the Austin York, kind of a glorified fullback
Right.
type guy. I think Landon Cooper is a guy that'll play both of those roles. He is a really, really good blocker in the film I saw. Austin York, I believe he was one of he got some sort of an all conference nod. I have to
Yeah.
remember, but he'll be an experienced guy as well. That's kind of your three tight ends that I think will see the field the most. And I mean, the tight end's not the most exciting position of all time at Eastern, anyways.
Right.
But let's move on to the more volatile side of the ball, as
Yeah.
we like to say here at Eastern. The defense. The defense has been, the what's a polite word? The worst
The
defense in
Achilles heel. Yeah.
Achilles heel. Yeah, it has been bad.
Yeah.
That's flat out just horrible. The last 2 years, especially. And I mean, in general, Eastern's never had like a dominant defense, but like the last 2 years have been ridiculously bad. Some of the worst rushing defenses I can remember ever at Eastern Washington. And so,
Yeah.
following the end of the year, Coach Jeff Kopp, defensive coordinator, was fired, and Eric Sanders, the linebackers coach, was promoted to the defensive coordinator. And I've got to say, when I heard that Eric Sanders was the guy, I was a little bit puzzled. But he has definitely grown on me in terms of I think I think he's the right guy. Just from what I've seen, the defense is already growing so much.
Nice.
It You saw it happen in the spring. Like you start off and they're not aligned right. You have these little things early in the spring, and by the end of the spring, they won the dang red white game. Like
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time the defense won the red white game. So
Does that make
I'm
you excited or nervous?
it honestly for me, I'm excited because
Yeah.
I kind of think I don't know when I think about it. I'm like this is something that Brian Marceau of Tubbs the Club says all the time. If your defense doesn't beat the offense in spring ball, you probably have an issue. I think that holds true for a lot of people. Like I think your defense in general should be the more quick to get the scheme type thing. So I don't know. I'm excited. I think this defense is young. I think this defense is exciting, has a lot of energy. And I think the important position groups graduated a lot of guys that last year I think linebacker was kind of a weakness. The linebacking room, great guys, Ben Allen and Jaron Banks, but they weren't the most talented guys of all time. Ben Allen was a very solid player, but I think they were not put in positions to succeed a lot of the time. From things I saw, anyways, there was a lot of like, hey, why are we running a damn dime defense in the red zone against Idaho, who has rushed for 250 yards? Like, really dumb things like that that just me as a idiot college student sitting in the end zone. I'm like, why are we running nickel deep? Like stupid stuff where it's like, put someone in the box, please. And I think Coach Sanders is a guy that's gonna make sure, hey, this is very attention to detail type of guy. Like we need to make sure we have our I's dotted, our T's crossed, and we got to make sure we're doing things the right way. But it's not to the point where people are trying to be too perfect. I think that was a big thing he hit on in our interview with him is he's like, I want guys to just go and hit people, go play fast, because that's how Eastern defenses have succeeded in the past. It's just cause chaos, cause turnovers. We're
Yeah.
gonna give up yards. We know that. Like we're not that kind of a defense. It's gonna be a hey, go cause chaos, go cause turnovers, and I think that's what his defense is gonna be really, really kind of pandered to. Do you have any just overall thoughts on the defense before we go into more positions?
No, and I mean, I keep saying the middle of the field, but this is where I think we really have struggled the last few years, especially on the run defense side, right? It just seems like every single team is able to just flick it to the outside, and there's a hole for about 40 yards because no one can keep up, right? We really lack speed on the defensive side, especially, and that I mean that's the biggest thing I want to see. I want to see. I mean, we hammered the middle pretty good. I mean, I feel like our interior defensive line and linebacking crew was actually pretty damn solid when, someone was trying to do a third and short. I mean, we stuffed a lot of those third and shorts until they would flip it to the outside and then just have their quarterback or running back or even, an option for the wide receiver just or a screen. Then that whole sideline was completely empty. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing I want to see from these guys. I mean, how quick are they to get to the outside? How quick are they to go from sideline to sideline? The middle of the field, I think we're going to be a pretty good defense again, but it's are there going to be these giant openings for 15 yards on the sidelines when our defense is doing everything right? I also like what you said. Create the chaos. That has been our most successful defenses, right? 2010, we were dominating in terms of creating turnovers. 2018, same thing. I mean, that's just one of those things where you need a leader in there who's going to hype up the team. And when you create a turnover, it hypes up the offense as well, right? It hypes up the crowd. So yeah, are we going to be able to turn over that ball? We aren't going to give up yards. It is what it is. That's just the key of this. But yeah, I don't know. I really want to see the sidelines covered this time. I know there was
Mhm.
miscues, misdefense. They were lining up weird. It is what it is because you saw some of the individual talent. I even remember when we played North Dakota State. Of course, Matt Frazee, North Dakota State fan. He's like, man, your guys' defense. I get they scored 35 on us or whatever. He's like, your defense was really good. And I was like, yeah, I think we're actually going to be really improved. Then we played Fresno State. Of course, a running back ran all over us, but it was expected. Defense played out of their mind, extremely good. And then it started going downhill a little bit. It seemed like every single week because people were able to exploit, just run to the outside. Go hit that sideline. You're open. You're fine. You're going to be able to just hammer this defense, run for 12 yards of play, whatever. So I really hope the athleticism, the speed, can shut down those sidelines, or else we're still going to be in a world of hurt. I mean, that's what I'm fearful of.
For sure. And I mean, we can't like they got to prove it. They got to prove that they're better because that's something that I don't know. I think they're going to be better from what I've seen. They already look better
Yeah.
overall. Like I think the leadership in general of that defense is better. Having you know another big thing that I think mattered with the defense is like we didn't have a special teams coordinator the last few years, and I guess it kind of sounds like most of that burden of special teams preparation was put on the defensive coaches.
Hmm.
And I think having a special teams coordinator, is going to take a lot of that off their plate. I think that is something that's going to
Yeah.
make a big difference as well. Gives you more time to just more brain time for those defensive coaches to really dial in the defense, really dial in the film study, really dial in just overall what is our plan, what's our preparation going to be like. I think that was a big thing that was lacking last year, as well as just the speed. And I think it was most of the speed. I think was just kind of the linebacker and the edge players.
Hmm.
I like you said, I think Eastern has one of the more talented interior defensive lines generally in the conference. Honestly, like We have
Underrated for sure.
for sure. We have two dudes that are getting looks for preseason all conference stuff, and Newsome and Matt Brown. You also have guys like Brock Harrison, who's like a 27th year senior playing the edge there. He's a dude that very talented. The other edge is kind of where one of the holes on the defense was last year. You had a guy like Ben Voigtlander playing there. He's reliable, but like he's not the twitchy defensive end that you really want in the Eastern scheme that they like to run last year. It felt like we schematically we just left players out on islands last year a lot.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's something that changes, and I think it will. I think Coach Sanders is going to be doing a lot of things, especially in coverage, that's going to cause some chaos with Big Sky quarterbacks, because he was. I'm pretty excited about some of the things I saw coverage wise, mixing up coverages, disguising coverages, and stuff like that. That I don't know if we really did too much last year. We had like a disguised coverage that we would run sometimes, and it was like you could kind of see it coming.
Right.
That's kind of how I felt about it watching things back. So, position wise, let's hit on the interior defensive line first. Like we said, Newsome is Newsome and Matthew Brown or Matt Brown are the two kind of bigger names there that have gotten a lot of playing time. Let me go through it, as well as Isaiah Perez and Justice Lualu, I think is how you say it.
Yeah.
Laulu. He's number 78 last year. He switched his number to number 90.
What does it show with sizes? That's a big boy.
6'2", 308 for Justice. Isaiah Perez, 6'2", 272. Matt Brown, 6'3", 306. He's wearing a single digit this year, number 9.
Nice.
That's going to be fun. You got Jaira. He has a long last name, Leah Pepetele or something like that. Jacob
Yeah.
Newsome. Like, I think the interior defensive line is very good. I think they're going to be very solid.
Nice.
I don't know if we have the high end talent that I think Idaho has probably the best interior defensive lineman in the conference this year with Afalava, but I think these guys are very solid for what Eastern needs at that interior defensive line spot. We need guys that are able to stuff the run a little bit, but can get after the passer as well. We have that in general, in my
Awesome.
opinion. I think moving to the edge is kind of it's a little bit of a question mark. It's kind of a Brock Harrison, and then now what? You have a lot of very talented young guys there. You had Jaden Radke and Ben Voigtlander that played probably the majority of the reps at that other edge spot last year. Well, sorry, I'm forgetting about DeMarcus Johnson, but when DeMarcus Johnson wasn't on the field, those two guys were playing a lot of reps out on the edge, and they're just like talent-wise, talented guys, very solid players, but they're not the speed and they're not the twitch that you need to have a really good defense. And so, having transfers, there's been a ton of transfers at that defensive end spot. You think of Anthony James II. He's a transfer out of Washington. He'll be a redshirt freshman this year, but he's 6'5", 275, and you watch his tape from high school. That dude is fast. He's twitchy for that big of a guy. I think he's a dude that has a chance of starting at that other edge spot. You think of a guy like Tylen Jackson. He's 6'5", 223, super twitchy, athletic defensive end, young guy. He's only going to be a sophomore next year. I think he has a chance to come onto the scene as a really good pass rusher in general. They also added another transfer at defensive end from Nevada. What is his name?
Oh,
shoot. What's his name?
I actually have it written down somewhere.
Caleb Manson. He's like a super tall, lanky, twitchy defensive end.
Yeah.
He's 6'6", 215 listed on the website. He'll be a pass rusher, I'm sure, but he's listed as a redshirt freshman. A lot of young guys, but these guys have some experience. Clayton McCarroll is a true freshman this year, as well as Waylon Romero. They're both true freshmen, very talented, twitchy guys that I think Waylon Romero is a guy, son of Eek legend Dario Romero. He has some oomph to him. I think he's going to be a star. I don't know if he's going to be a first-year star, but his tape really got me excited. This is another one that's interesting to me. So Deshaun Misa, or Hunter Misa, he is a Boise State transfer. he played linebacker at Boise State, and he was a huge recruit, 4-star recruit for them, one of the biggest recruits in Boise State history. He transferred to Eastern Washington this year, and he's being listed as a defensive end.
Hmm.
So I mean, I don't have any information. I literally just saw this before the podcast started.
Oh
He was
wow.
a guy that I was like, he is probably going to be our starting Mike linebacker or starting
Yeah.
Will linebacker. He's playing. I guess he's playing some edge, which is interesting. He definitely has the build of an edge type player, but I think he has that twitch that you would want at
Good.
that outside spot. Um,
So we're
from
gonna be able to close that distance on the sidelines.
really hoping
That's
for that
that's
because
what it sounds like.
it it's what it feels like they're trying to get back towards more
Cool.
athleticism on the edges. I'm thinking of like a Mitchell Johnson type guy like that. Maybe he's not the best run stuffer of all time, but he's twitchy. He can rush the passer very well, but
Yeah.
can hold his own enough on the edge. Um, Brock
Perfect.
Harrison builds a little
Yeah.
bit. I think is what they're aiming towards on the edge.
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah, I
I'm
mean, we
I'm
got to improve anywhere we can on the run defense. I mean, honestly, it's not hard to improve even a little bit. I mean,
for yeah,
that's what sucks to say. I mean, it's gonna be pretty damn easy to improve. So
for sure. I totally agree with you there. Do you have any other thoughts on the defensive line before we move on to the
no, and
linebacker?
I'm glad you're educating me on this because again, this offseason I haven't been able to dive into it as much as I normally do. Work's been a little chaotic, but of course I know the players, I know the recruits, but I haven't got to see it in action. Like the spring game, I mean, I only got to read a little bit of an article. Unfortunately, normally I'd be watching clips. I'd be calling people, hey, what happened? What was going on? So no, I mean, all this information is exciting as hell to me. So no, I mean, run away with this bad boy.
Yeah, so the linebacker position is the one that I probably spent way too much time like just diving into every little
And there's
detail I
there's
could
some
get.
big exciting names on the linebacking group that
I
I mean
yeah.
they should perform well. Should is the
So
key word.
linebacker's kind of a weird position. Like there's a lot of guys that have been here for a lot of years
Yeah.
but maybe haven't been very productive. You'd think of a Connor O'Farrell's a guy that's been here for years. He's a senior. The Alaskan Assassin, I believe, is his nickname. I freaking love that. He played a lot of kind of that nickel will linebacker, the Jaron Banks role, in some of the reps I saw. You also have Adam Cohen, UCLA transfer that started a lot of games at Mike, and Derek Tomasini, Idaho transfer, who started a few games at one of the interior linebacker spots. Those three guys are your most experienced. They're all seniors. They're all have a lot of snaps under their belt. But I don't know if they're the most exciting names. Like those, I don't know if those are the guys that necessarily fit what Coach Sanders is trying to do. And when I was at spring, those guys, none of those guys actually really took a ton of reps. Adam Cohen had a number of reps, but I think that the guys that seem like the starters when I was watching this spring, Amani Williams is the big one that I am very, very excited to see play this year.
We
He's going to be a
mentioned that on the
redshirt junior.
offseason episode. Like
Yes.
what at the spring season episode that we were hoping, we'd see a giant uptick from Amani.
I think Amani Williams is probably number one in terms of the guy I'm the most excited to watch this year. He switched his number again. A lot of number switches that made me funny, make me laugh. He's wearing number 23 this year. He just very talented, speedy guy that I think he was making some mental errors, but he has the talent to be that Coach Sanders style linebacker, the chaos causing linebacker that we really want to see. A couple other guys that have gotten a lot of snaps. Samurai Anderson, he's a redshirt freshman, very talented player. He has solid size. He good inside linebacker type build. He, same kind of story ish of Amani Williams. I mean, I don't think Samurai's quite the same speed as Amani Williams, but Samurai, very talented guy. Has young, but has had a number of kind of dumb mistakes, just like mental error things. We'll see. He's another young guy. The redshirt freshman class, or these kind of redshirt freshman sophomore age kids are like very, very exciting to me. Miles Mayoski, he's a redshirt sophomore this year. He was a starter for a number of snaps this spring. I
Nice.
think linebacker is going to be a spot where we'll probably see a rotation of like 7 to 8 guys until they find the guys that are the starters. I think it really is going to be kind of a revolving door a little bit, trying to figure out who's going to be that guy. We might have one. I think if there's one guy that's going to be a mainstay there, I'm hoping it's Amani Williams. He's the most experienced of the kind of younger class. There definitely feels like I don't know. There's like the older guys and the younger guys. There's like not a ton of juniors except for Monty Williams. The rest of them are all either sophomore or below, and then
Hmm.
you have a bunch of seniors. So it's definitely two different kind of age classes. It feels like you also have two true freshmen at linebacker, Connor Walker and Shea Robertson, that both very exciting players. That I think Shea Robertson, before we added some transfers in on the defense, I was like, Shea might be a
The
guy
starter.
that he could like make some noise really early. he's
Nice.
he's a tough worker, Coeur d'Alene High School local guy. He's a Provision Academy player. He trained with Greg Peach. Like
Yeah.
you gotta love. I think he's a dude that's bound to be like a really good linebacker for Eastern Washington one day. Reminds me a little
Nice.
bit of a Kettner Cup.
Okay.
I like him, but it's going to be a little bit of a mixed bag at linebacker. You got Trevor Thurman in there as well. He's kind of been switching around from edge and also playing some linebacker, from what I heard from Dan. But it's going to be a mixed bag. But I think there's talent there. It's just figuring out who's going to be the right mix of a lot of talent and a lot of dumb mistakes. That's
Right.
where we're going to see. I wouldn't be shocked if we had a few hiccups defensively early, and then it kind of adjusts and gets where we want it to be as the season goes on. But we'll have to see. I think this defense is going to try to thrive on causing chaos, like I said,
Well,
and that's what we're hoping to see, anyways.
well, the good news is if you think it's going to take a little bit of time, right? I mean, if you look at the historic out of conference scheduling of Eastern Washington, we never really had time to gel. This is the
Yeah,
first year where there's some teams in our out of conference that can make a splash that has been successful in the past, like Southeastern Louisiana, like in Monmouth, right? These have been teams who can make the playoffs, but they're not the same type of caliber teams we are used to continuously playing. So if it's going to take a few weeks for this defense to gel, we finally have the perfect out of conference schedule that, guess what, if they make a few mistakes, this won't put us in a big enough hole. We should still be able to overcome those mistakes or errors on the offensive side of the ball, vice versa, to still pull out a win. And hopefully by the time it's conference play, you know, maybe we're not battling from the behind, and maybe we can rattle off a few wins and get some experience, get some momentum. Yeah.
yeah. We'll hit on the schedule here in a second, because it's like you have not cupcakes, but like a couple of not quite as like daunting games to start the year, and then
Yeah.
it's just Big Sky, Montana. Like that's how
Yeah.
it goes this year. So I'm excited that this should be fun. Uh, we'll hit on the secondary pretty quick here. This was a strong group last year in general. I think they were the strength of the defense. You have guys like DeGene Wells and Cage Skank that last year really took steps up and played very well. Darian Sampson is back. I think he's like a 7th-year senior this year. He's been here forever. Missed the last like 2 years with injury, but he's like, if you see pictures of Chisholm, Sampson's always guarding him, type of thing. A few other names that have been mentioned as guys making some impacts that are younger. You think of a Jonathan Landry at cornerback, redshirt freshman. Dan mentioned Landry. Dan mentioned Zion Jones. He's another cornerback, 6'2", 163 corner, redshirt freshman, kind of a taller, lanky corner. Alphonse Oiwak, something like that. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He started a number of games last year. Gonna have a kind of a mixed bag again in the secondary. They really like to rotate their secondary a lot. Let me hit to the safeties. There was a one guy, number 18. I cannot remember his name to save my life, but he's kind of the one. Where is it? Where is it? Kentrell Williams Jr. He's going to be a mainstay at safety, I'm sure. He's going to be one of the main starters. Armani Orange and Derek Ganter will probably be battling for that second spot. as well as a little bit of Drew Carter in there. Also, they got a lot of talent in the secondary. They have a number of guys that took starting reps last year. You have Derek Ganter
Right.
Jr. He got reps last year as he wasn't a starter last year, but he got a lot of reps with the ones. Drew Carter started a number of games last year as a redshirt freshman. Armani Orange has been starting games here for 2-3 years now. Um, yeah, you got Mikel Broussard. He's a grad transfer from UTEP. He played a lot of football in his day. Talented dude. He had some reps with the twos last spring. Like I think safety is definitely a very strong room. They got 4 to 5 guys that if they're starting, I would be probably comfortable.
Okay.
Uh, a lot of young guys that get me excited, like Derek Ganter Jr. That dude, he had some flashes. He had the big PBU and the Weber State game that sealed the game.
Yeah.
He's made some big plays. It sounds like he's been getting some looks with the ones as
Nice.
a sophomore this year. So, the secondary, like it's hard to get too in depth on them because they like to rotate a lot in the
Right.
secondary I've seen. But I generally, I think they're going to be pretty good. And like I was saying earlier, schematically, they're going to be a fun group to watch because they run so many weird. They like to mix in quarters, and then they like to mix in your disguise cover 3, disguise cover 2, and then they'll mix it up, and all of a sudden they're running man and cover 1, and they run everything from what I've seen, which is exciting because it didn't feel like that was what we saw a ton
Yeah.
in previous years. All right. We're over the hour now, so we're gonna try to wrap this up pretty quick here. We're gonna hit on the schedule really quick. Let me share this, and then we'll get it going. So,
What a great graphic, though.
very nice graphic. Shout out, I believe Braden Harlow did this. He's awesome. But
Phenomenal.
the schedule's fun, man. We got freaking 6 home games this year. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
6 home games is awesome. 2 out of conference home games that are not D2 schools. I mean, we got Drake in there, which is getting close, but I'm excited. So start off the year, August 29th is, season opener at home. We got Monmouth, their CAA school,
Yeah.
kind of middle of the road CAA school. I don't know much about Monmouth in
Yeah,
general.
they did well in the Big South before they went to the CA. Now the Big South to the CA is a giant jump, but when they're in the Big South, I mean, this is when Kennesaw was dominating. Monmouth started putting it to Kennesaw, and kind of their last few years in the Big South. I mean, they made the name for themselves. They were competitive. They made a splash. They made the postseason, and last year was their first year in the CAA. And they became a middle of the road team in the CAA, but the CAA is not this joke of a conference. So traveling all the way from where are they? New York or something
New
like
Jersey,
that.
I think.
New Jersey to Cheney, Washington should be fun, especially because we've had a pretty good record versus CAA teams. I don't think they're used to seeing teams spread the field as much as maybe these Big Sky Eastern Washington offenses. So I'm excited for that. That's a good first game.
And Monmouth is kind of they tend to be kind of a spread it out high flying offense type of school, which should be a fun matchup.
Yeah.
Then you move on. You got Drake. Drake's Pioneer League school. They're pretty good last year for Pioneer League. I think they made the playoffs, did they not? They got smoked by North Dakota State in the first round. I think that was the bloodbath by North Dakota State. But they did make the playoffs. They won the auto bid in the Pioneer League. They're non-scholarship school.
Yeah.
They don't have the talent that we like. They don't have a ton of talent there, and that should be a game that Eastern wins.
Yeah.
You have Southeastern Louisiana on the road. Last year, that was a really fun game here in Roos because it was a lot of energy. That CLA team was really good. They're talented. They weren't really good like numbers wise at the end of the year, but they got a lot of talent there, especially on the lines, which is fun to watch.
I'm probably gonna go to that game. I mean, it's gonna. I'll see. I won't make any promises, but it is in Louisiana, so it's probably only a 4-hour drive. So I might hit up coaches and see if they can hook a brother up. But yeah, I know some people down there in Hammond, America, so we'll see what happens.
Hopefully, yeah, that would be an awesome trip.
It's gonna be hot and humid. We have not played well in the southern humidity, so hopefully that's changed.
Hopefully that has changed, and hopefully CLA has taken a little bit of a step back. They kind of have the last 2 years, but they're historically they're just high flying offense.
Yeah.
Should be another fun game, high scoring game, hopefully.
This is just so like you guys, and I'm not saying I had anything to do with it, but this is back when Eric Berrier and Cole Kelly were going at it, for Walter Payton. Me and a few C-Law people, we started the trend of just every few days tagging Eastern Washington Athletics and, C-Law Athletics and going, we need to schedule home and home now. We need to schedule home and home now. Now, the bummer is it was just 2 years too late, but even if it's not true, I'm taking 100% of the credit of getting this game scheduled because these two teams are not close to each other. They don't have a history. So I'm taking 1,000,000% of the credit for this.
And it's a fun matchup. I remember all that back and forth on Twitter. It was the arguments about who deserved
Who
the
deserves it?
Walter
Yeah.
Payton more was amazing. Cole Kelly was playing cupcakes. Anyways,
There
moving
you go.
on. We got our FBS game, your quote unquote money game, Nevada. This is, I mean, when you think about an FBS game, it really doesn't get much more winnable than that. And not to like knock on Nevada because I mean last year they might have been the worst team in the country. I think Idaho put a 30 piece on them last year, and just absolutely smoked Nevada last year. This year they have a new coach, the familiar face, and Coach Choate from Montana State. He's the head coach at Nevada now. They're going to be improved, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
they're not going to be a good Mountain West team. I think that's a game that if you gear up, and I mean, Eastern's had success against the Mountain West the last few years.
Yeah.
Took Fresno State to the brink. You beat UNLV a few years ago. I think this is a winnable game, and I think I don't know if it's a must win, but I
Right.
think that's a really important game in terms of Eastern's playoff hopes. Like if you win that game and maybe win one more game through that stretch of that gauntlet stretch and you take care of business in the first three and the last three, you're 7-5 with an FBS win or 8-4 with an FBS win. That's a playoff bid to me, and that almost, I mean, I don't know if it guarantees you anything, but that could almost get you a home game
Yeah. I
with
think
the new
with the new
seating.
seeding, I think you need 8 wins this year just
Probably,
to pretty much lock it in. If you can get 8 wins out of the Big Sky, I mean, you're a lock with the extra game. I don't think 7 wins does it where typically it does.
yeah. That's very true. And I mean, just look at UC Davis the last few years. They've just gotten absolutely screwed, sitting right on the bubble of what they need, and they just never seem to
Well,
get
don't
picked
lose the
over the other
Eastern
team.
again, bums.
No, bums, you got to come Cheney this year. I'm hoping that should be a fun one.
Yeah.
After Nevada, you got a big one. The Grizz coming to Cheney. They have never won on the red, and we are hoping that stays that way. This should be a fun one. I think it's a 6 p.m. kickoff local time. Should be a really, really fun one. By the end of the game, it'll be dark. I really am excited for this one. I'm fired
Yeah.
up. Get your tickets early. The last time Montana came to town, it sold out super fast. So
Yeah.
you get on it early as soon as tickets go on sale. I don't even know if single tickets are on sale
Yeah,
yet.
it'll be
I'm not
sold out, especially with
sure.
like some of the amenities that Eastern's trying to give this year for,
Absolutely.
Rosa's Pizza at the stadium is pretty freaking fantastic.
Ben and Jerry's. That's pretty awesome.
There you go.
Then after the Montana game, I mean Montana picked to win the conference. It's gonna be a tough game, but
Yeah, for sure.
they don't play well on the red. I'm excited. I'm really excited for that one. I think that's gonna be a more important Big Sky game in the grand scheme of things than people realize. Then you got Sac State on the road. That's gonna be a tough game.
Yeah.
I'm not as high on Sac State as a lot of people are, but you know, Sac State has had our number, especially down in Sac State the last number of years, and so that's going to be a tough game, especially with they kind of have our kryptonite in a mobile quarterback down there.
Yeah, for sure.
UC Davis at home. This is a game that I'm really expecting Eastern to win. You're going to have a healthy Larison probably for a full 4 quarters. If you can't stop him, it's going to be tough to beat him. But
they have a very capable quarterback in Miles Hastings.
Absolutely. They're going to be a solid team with a lot of potential. We'll see. We'll see that'll be another, I think, an important game for Eastern in terms of playoff.
All these home games are actually extremely important.
Absolutely, and I think this Idaho game is as well.
Yeah,
on
for
the road
sure.
at Idaho, these games they've been so close. But if you wipe out 2022 every Idaho Eastern game feels like it's been within a score or two the last 8 years.
Oh,
And
not
so,
2021.
oh, I mean that 100%. You're right. I guess they've each gotten each other pretty bad. I totally, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I've been spending too much time with the Tubbs people the last 2 years. They're trying to make me forget about it, but that
Never
definitely,
forget.
I don't know. I just, they tend to play each other pretty closely.
Yeah.
Idaho lost a lot this year. I mean, they're going to be a very good team. They're going to have a very good defense,
Yeah.
but I think
I'm
this
not
is an
as
important
high on
game.
them as what the nation or all the stats writers are.
And I think Idaho's going to be pretty good, but
Yeah.
it's not going to be. I don't think it's a blowout type of game by any means. Montana State at home, that's going to be a tough one. But again, dude, Eastern has played Montana State pretty tough at
Yeah.
home, at least. I mean, like last year in Bozeman wasn't fun, but
The
like at
last home
home
game we should have won.
in
And we were
2022,
bad.
we were awful, and we
And
should
they
have beat
were
them.
I mean they were amazing. And I mean that was their national title run and we should have beat them. I mean that was a game we had.
Fumbled that thing away. And then after that, you have Northern Colorado on the road. Coach Lamb is trying his best down there, but they've been bad. You got to think that's hopefully a winnable game. Idaho State at home. Idaho State again, they're a little frisky. They're going to be better, but you got to hope that's a winnable game, especially at home. And the NAU, you got to get revenge for ending the season last year the way we did, because that was disgusting, and I hate NAU because it feels like they're always 500 in every sport and everything except for running
Track.
events for
Yeah.
whatever reason. I guess they have altitude and stuff, but for how tough the opponents are between Nevada and Montana State, I feel like we got the better draw in terms of, like, if you gave this schedule to some other team, or like you arrange the home games differently or something like that, like it would be way tougher
Yeah.
in general. Like getting Davis at home, I think is huge. Getting Montana at home, I think is huge. Like getting Montana State at home is also pretty big. I
Yeah.
think all three of those games are, hey, if Eastern takes a step, all those games should be close. I think UC Davis should be a winnable game, and I think Montana State, they're both going to be really good teams. But
Yeah. And Davis has
historically,
never beat us.
100%, and historically, Montana schools haven't played well in the red.
Yeah.
Those should be games that Eastern can win. Sac State, I think Sac State on the road might be like the toughest in terms of matchup on the schedule in general. I don't know. I'm not mega high on them, but I think they play pretty well at home, and Eastern hasn't played very well down there. And they're just matchup wise, it worries me a little bit. But I really think, like, if you take care of business in those first three games and those last three games, if you can pick off two games in that stretch of Nevada through Montana State, I think playoffs are looking good, and especially if you can get that Nevada game, I think a 16-15 seed isn't out of the reach of
Right.
Eastern Washington this year. And again, it just depends on the defense. It depends on how they look, but I'm so excited. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, me too, man. I think the last few years we've had, of course, no one likes to say this either, but I mean, this is a prove it year for Aaron Best. This is a prove it year for the coaching staff. I mean, it seems like this is a make or break type of season. So
100%.
the out of conference schedule pretty favorable, which we haven't had in a long time. I like the home games we have. Yeah, to me, if I had a bet, I mean, I'd be betting probably closer to we're making the playoffs and we're sitting at home. Which, if you look at the last 2 years, that's probably something most Eastern fans aren't going to admit or think it's capable of. So I think we will make some strides. We got talent, so now we just hopefully they put it together on the field.
I'm a homer, but like I'm pretty optimistic about our chances this year of making the playoffs, and the way that the schedule worked out. I'm just so excited for this year.
Sweet.
So excited. I'm hoping to do kind of weekly preview episodes this football season. Hopefully, I think is the hope, depending on how the schedule works out and stuff like that. Maybe a little bit more. We'll see. But man, we've been going hour 20 minutes now, so we should probably wrap it up here.
Fair enough.
Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I mean, again, I'm just so pumped. It's football season. This has been very long off season. I'll probably jump on if you have me every now and then. See if I
Absolutely.
can maybe make some points or make some. Yeah. If you invite me, I'll do my best to jump on a few times. So
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to the season, man. I really am.
Yeah. 100%. I will have you anytime you're free for sure on here because
Cool.
it kind of is your thing. You know what I
It is what it is. It's yours now, baby.
mean? Fair enough. All right. Well, man, hard to not be excited for football season. It's so
Yeah.
much fun. I like red fields and stuff, and Saturdays in the fall are the best. So, okay, let's wrap it up. Everyone, go East.
Boom.